Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Katie Halper Show. We are doing a special, unplanned, but very important, I would say, live stream. As people probably know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg has died, and I know a lot of people have a lot of thoughts and questions about that. So we are so lucky because we're being joined by Samuel Moyn, who is the Henry R. Luce Professor of Jurisprudence and Professor of History at Yale. Real excited. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, thanks for having me, Katie.
Yeah, just wanted to ask you, I guess, to just kind of jump in. First of all, are you a jurist? Can I call you a jurist?
You know, that's a pretty highfalutin word. I went to law school.
But I always try to use it. Is it only
all right,
for judges?
Well, this is your chance.
All right, it's my chance. I think I've called you that and Rokana that.
All right.
With varying levels of success. But yeah, can you tell us what this means? Where were you when you discovered this? Were you surprised? What your kind of immediate response was to this news about our RBG, as she's called?
Well, you know, I just watched Donald Trump on Twitter say that she lived an extraordinary life, and that's true. And she was on the right side of many things. And, you know, for any feminist, she lived a dream, which was to, you know, engage in a cause and see it come to fruition, and even, you know, move from advocacy to kind of some really important judicial decisions that she authored. On the other hand, her legacy is colored now. She made a bet on her longevity, and we all pay the price that she lost it. It's obviously a tragedy for her and her family, but it was an avoidable tragedy for the nation that yet another presidential election becomes about the fate of this all-powerful council of elders that we should, you know, think hard about whether we want to keep
as a council, or?
Yeah, I mean, where I'd take this discussion is, you know, we have to think about her and her legacy, but we also now have, you know, yet another referendum that's supposed to be about our political leaders, but is in fact about who gets to appoint the judges on this particular court. And maybe at some point we should think about why we're doing that.
Right.
Why are we empowering an institution so much that almost we've converted democracy into who gets to be on it?
So I want to ask you about those two kind of two levels that you brought up. One is her life, right? And the significance of her as an individual, what this means, the way she kind of bet on her own longevity, and then want to get into the larger question of how we should be talking about this. But just for the kind of immediate discussion, what were her options? I mean, I think that most people thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win, right? I think the logic was that she was going to wait it out.
Absolutely.
Ginsburg was going to wait it out and then be replaced by President Hillary Clinton.
Correct.
What would have happened had she retired under President Obama, and what could he have been able to achieve had it happened under his presidency? Because of course we saw a lot of gridlock with his attempts. No,
that's true. You know, and you're absolutely right that, you know, to second guess her, especially now that she's gone, you know, the night she died is pretty unseemly. On the other hand, she was a public figure and made choices that have affected us all now.
I think she'd want us to.
Yeah. Okay, good. Right? Well, with that assurance, let's plow ahead. You know, it would have been an incredible thing to see Hillary Clinton replace Ruth Ginsburg. And of course, most of us thought that's what would happen. On the other hand, she was, you know, grievously ill at several points. And and she was also elderly. So she could have retired in 2013. You know, that was the moment where she really missed a chance. At that point, it really wasn't predictable that, you know, Hillary would, you know, necessarily succeed Barack Obama, and she was 80 years old. So I regard that as a pretty, disastrous mistake in retrospect. The thing is, though, anyone in power, wants to preserve it. And, we all think we're going to live forever, you and me too. So I don't blame her so much as the fact that we've created this situation for ourselves and don't seem to want to do anything to fix it. The dominant, Twitter discourse right now is that we have to depoliticize the Supreme Court, put it back the way it was in some yesteryear when it was neutral. But the fact is, it's always been political. It's always been a policy-making body. And, we fought over who's on it for generations now. So until we realize that we need to fix it, you can't really blame those who want to be on it, who get on it, for wielding the power that we give them.
Right. And what kind of, can you just as a jurist, can you talk about her legacy, her intellectual, or what's the word? Jurisprudential, is that it? Legacy? Yeah,
that's the word. Look, I'm not a huge expert, but I'll say a few things. She emerged as, first of all, she went to law school at a time almost no women did. And she was tenacious and in getting through it. We've seen the movies now. There are multiple, documentaries and movies about it. And, she's an icon, not least to my own daughters. And, it's incredible that she, opened these possibilities and really became a model for so many people. She, as an advocate, she really devised the strategy as that led the Supreme Court before she was on it, decades before she was on it, to say that gender discrimination should be treated seriously under the Constitution, in particular under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Before then, racial discrimination had been given what's called heightened scrutiny, and she helped convince them that gender discrimination also was serious enough that the Constitution, cares. And that was a major achievement. And it was really a kind of strategic, on her part to figure out how to convince all male justices at that time to make the Constitution into something that could protect women. As a justice, she got this incredible opportunity to even give more teeth to, protections against gender discrimination under the Constitution, most famously in a case that shut down or seriously altered the Virginia Military Institute, which had been an all-male school. And she wrote a decision. It's a classic decision that said that it's unconstitutional for there to be a state-run all-male school. In later life, she became a dissenter. Some of her liberal colleagues, like Stephen Breyer and Elena Kagan, began exploring a strategy of compromising with the right to kind of like make the outcomes less bad. And Ruth Ginsburg, in a case like that involves voting rights, wrote a pretty impressive dissent in another case in which the Obamacare was nearly struck down, and part of it was struck down. She wrote an incredibly impassioned dissent. So at the end of her life, she became much more, let's say, aggressively liberal in her rhetoric. She had been a centrist liberal and really, a radical for women, but not, with respect to, kind of larger social issues for most of her life. Towards the end, she never became a radical, in the way you and I might think of it, but she definitely would get rowdy as the court moved right from time to time.